Let's get some Republican perspective on all of this. Senator Roger Wicker is a Republican from Mississippi. He's a senior member of the Armed Services Committee as well. He's joining us from Capitol Hill. Senator, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
So what kinds of concerns, if any, does this meeting that Donald Trump Jr. had with this Russian lawyer raise for you?
I do not think the American people are going to be horrified by this. And I agree with Donald Trump Jr. He was told that there was some information unfavorable to their general election opponent. He went to a meeting. It turns out there wasn't much there. And instead, the Russian attorney wanted to talk about the Magnitsky Act and Russian adoptions. It was a pretty quick meeting, and he concluded that it didn't amount to much. I just think that's pretty much of a great big nothing when it comes to whether there was some sort of collusion between Russia and general election campaign organizations.
But Senator, let me ask you, because you're a United States Senator, a senior senator, would you go to a meeting with a Russian lawyer, not even knowing who this person was, someone simply saying, you know, we have some damaging information about your political opponent, and you would bring your campaign chairman, a senior advisor, to a meeting like this? Would you simply go in blindly into a meeting like this?
Well, Donald Trump didn't go, and as far as we can tell,
I'm not saying Donald Trump. I'm saying not saying Donald Trump. I'm saying that Donald Trump's eldest son went into a meeting. He accepted a meeting like this, and he brought the campaign chairman at the time, Paul Manafort, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who was a senior advisor to the campaign. Would you simply go into a meeting like this, not even knowing who this person you were going to be having a meeting with and what the agenda was?
Well, I, as a public official or a candidate, would not do that. If somebody on behalf of a campaign was told there was some information that might be of interest to the public, I just don't think the American people are going to be up in arms that that meeting took place.
Well, do you think he should testify if there's nothing wrong? Donald Trump Jr., you just heard your colleague, Senator Reid, Senator Collins, others are saying he should come up to Capitol Hill and answer questions about this meeting. Would you welcome that?
Well, you know, I like Senator Jack Reed, and he and I worked together on many issues in the armed services area, and certainly Senator Collins is my colleague, and if they want to ask questions, then I would listen to them and look at the propriety of that. I really don't have any knowledge of the subpoena power there, but as far as asking a few questions, I don't see the harm in it. I don't think they're
necessarily ready to start subpoenaing Donald Trump Jr., but inviting him a volunteer way to come in and answer questions about this. I think that's what they would like to do. Let me move on to this other sensitive issue, because you've been involved in this area as well, national security. The President Trump, seems to be backing away from his original support for some sort of joint cybersecurity unit with the Russians. Should that have been part of the dialogue in the first place?
Well, if it's a part of a dialogue between the United States and Russia on cybersecurity, it should be in the context of working toward an agreement with our Russian counterparts that they'll quit doing this. When it comes to cyber attacks and bad actions in terms of cyber, Russia is the problem. And not only with the United States, but with many of our allies. The smaller countries in the Baltic area have had portions of their economy shut down by Russian cyber attacks. So any talk should be in the form of what sort of agreement can we come to with the Russians to make them agree not to do this in the future. In terms of a task force, suggesting that we're sort of on the same side of this issue and there's some force out there that we both abhor that's doing all this. I don't think the American people buy that, and frankly, I don't think the Trump administration ever thought that would be a good idea.
One final question, Senator, before I let you go. Would you like to see the president more outspoken in condemning the Russians for this interference in the U.S. presidential election? Many of his top advisors, his cabinet members, have been outspoken. He has been, as you well know, very, very tame in this area.
Well, as far as I understand, I did not attend the meeting, of course, but it was the first thing the president brought up when he met with President Putin, and he brought it up very forcefully and received an answer. You know, the problem with meeting with the Russians, and you got to do it, is then they get their spin on what was said in these private, off-the-record meetings, and I expect they put the sort of spin that was most favorable to them on their notes from the meeting.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting what he said privately in this meeting with Putin was tame. I don't know what he said in that private meeting, but in his public statements, he has been tame. He hasn't really gone out and said what you just said now. There's no doubt the Russians did this. It was inappropriate, and they should cut it out. We haven't heard many strong statements like that from the president.
Well, okay, I thought I had heard it quite a bit over time from people speaking for the president.
Right, that's
true. But I'll go
true.
back and look at his statements, and it might be that he could be even more forceful. I again go back to what I've said to you before, Wolf. Really, the American people are more interested in the substantive issues that we need to get about the business of doing, such as an infrastructure plan and health care and a better tax system that makes us more competitive to create jobs. But it might be that your point is well taken and that the president needs, once again, to answer this issue in a very, very forceful way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Senator, thanks as usual for joining us. Roger Wicker of Mississippi, always good to have you on our program as well. Coming up, we're going to have a lot more on Donald Trump.